The Pearl Garden wasn't on any map. Only 2 mermaids ever found it, and neither of them meant to. Soraya slipped through the reef split, careful not to be seen by the watchguards. The Pearl Garden was supposed to be off limits, but curiosity had already pushed her this far. Near a glowing coral bed, a girl sat alone, tail folded beneath her, placing colored shells into slow spirals. She didn't look up. She acted like the place belonged to her.
You're not worried someone might see you?
No one comes here, that's why I do.
You talk like you're important.
I'm not, I just know how to hide.
Mireya didn't invite her to leave. Soraya didn't explain why she was there. They didn't ask names, but neither of them left first. They saw each other again the next day, and the next, always in the same spot, always saying little at first. Then the conversations grew longer, mostly about shells, coral shapes, colors. Nothing personal, but not cold either.
Always arrange your shells by size.
It makes sense.
It's boring.
Maybe I like boring.
I don't think you do.
Neither of them admitted it, but both of them started arriving earlier each day, just in case the other was already there. One morning, they arrived at the same time. Instead of silence, Mireya handed Soraya a spiral shell, not as a gift, just as a challenge.
You can keep this if you can name what reef it came from.
Southern edge, smooth walls, no sand grain. But you don't find these near the outer camps.
Maybe I don't live near the outer camps.
Where do you live then?
With too many rules.
I'm Soraya.
That night, Soraya scratched Spiral Shell Day into a smooth white shell and buried it under a fan coral. She didn't know why she wanted to keep the memory, but she knew she would. Every 10 tides, the reef lit up with moonlight bloom, a festival of petals, songs, and pairing rituals. Most merfolk danced in the open court, surrounded by light. But Soraya and Mireya had slipped into the Kelp Maze, where soft shadows moved between them and no one was watching.
I knew you'd follow me.
I don't like dancing in front of strangers.
You don't like dancing at all.
I like it if it's with you.
Have you noticed how quiet it is when we're alone?
It's the only time I can breathe.
Me too, that's the problem.
What do you mean?
We're not supposed to feel this way. Not here, not us. 2 girls don't get to swim this close.
I know.
I think about you more than I should.
I do too, every night.
Neither of them moved away. The silence said more than their words, and in that still moment, everything between them changed. The kelp drifted gently around them like curtains in slow motion. Somewhere beyond the maze, music played, but none of it reached here. Mireya leaned forward and kissed Soraya. Not fast, not shy, just honest. No one saw it, but they would both remember it.
Are you scared?
I'm terrified.
Then why did you do it?
Because I wanted to. Because I couldn't not.
So did I.
They didn't need to say anything else. The current between them already knew. High above the maze, past the edge of the reef light, a tall figure hovered behind a coral spire. Queen Cirelli's. She had followed Mireya's trail when she noticed her slipping away from the court. Queen Cirellia didn't speak. She didn't move, but she had seen enough. She saw the girls in the clearing. She saw their closeness. She saw the kiss. While the girls were still floating in the current, the queen had already decided what must come next. The palace court was quiet when Mireya arrived. Elders sat in a half circle. Guards lined the reef walls. Her mother, Queen Cirellia, stood beside a formal shell scroll, sealed in gold bands. Mireya didn't like this kind of silence. It felt rehearsed.
Princess Mireya of the Pearl Kingdom is to be engaged to Prince Thorin of Serenthia.
What?
The tides have turned. The war edges closer. This marriage is not a choice. It's a necessity.
You're giving me away like I'm a treaty.
I'm securing peace for our people. This is your duty.
Mireya said nothing, not in front of the elders. But her eyes didn't blink once. The chamber was darker now, the crowd gone. But the tension hadn't left. Mireya stood in front of her mother's private throne, hands clenched at her sides.
Call it off.
No. This isn't about love.
I love someone else.
You love a girl. A girl who lives below your station. Do you think the kingdoms will bend for your feelings?
Then exile me. Don't punish her.
You misunderstand. If you defy this, she will be punished, not you. I'll have Soraya removed from the Pearl Reef and cast beyond the border. No water guard, no protection. Let's see how long she survives alone.
Mireya's breath caught, not from fear, but from fury. But she didn't argue again. Soraya was already waiting in the Pearl Garden. She didn't know what had happened, but she saw Mireya's face as soon as she swam in. That told her everything.
What did she say?
I'm being sent to Cyrenthia to marry the prince.
You said we'd have time.
There is no time, not for us, not in this world. But listen to me, this wasn't my choice, none of it. If there's any way at all, I'll find you again.
I don't want a maybe. I want you.
I want you too. I always have.
They hold eye contact for a long beat. Then Mireya leans in and kisses her. Slow, deep and quiet. No one watching. Just them. Neither of them spoke after the kiss. There were no more words to give. Just breath, water, and the ache of what couldn't stay. There was no music, no farewell. Just a line of guards and a royal escort waiting outside the palace reef. Mireya stood at the center, dressed in pale court colors. She didn't look at anyone. She didn't speak.
Princess Mireya, Cyrenthia is ready to receive you.
I understand.
Deliver her with full ceremony. Follow the scroll.
No one asked if she wanted to go. That part had already been decided. Inside Cyrenthia's inner court, the ritual began. The elders stood in a full circle. Mireya stood in the middle, silent and still. The basin at her feet glowed blue. A quiet chant filled the water. Queen Soraya stepped forward and faced the court priestess.
Erase the memories tied to the girl named Soraya. Remove the bond, remove the garden, remove everything that ties her to that path.
You're certain this is the only way?
She cannot rule with that love inside her. It is forbidden, and it is already gone.
The light rose from the basin and passed across Mireya's body. She didn't speak. Her eyes dimmed, slow and unfocused, like someone losing the last part of a song. When the light faded, the memory was gone. Soraya was gone. The Pearl Garden was untouched. The colors were the same. The coral still glowed, but nothing felt right. Soraya stood in silence. There was no voice behind her, no quiet laugh, no reason to wait.
But they didn't take what we made.
She picked up a blank shell and carved the words. Then she placed it in the reef with the others. The announcement was made without her voice. A shell was raised, a title was spoken, and Mireya became Queen Consort of Cyrenthia. She stood beside Prince Thorin at every formal gathering. She wore the colors they chose. She smiled when they told her to.
Her Grace, Queen Mireya of Cyrenthia, consort of the Pearl Crown.
Thank you.
No one asked her how she felt. That part of her life had been sealed away.
Your appearance today was well received.
Thank you.
Another state dinner next tide. You'll be expected to speak,
Will I be told what to say again?
if needed.
Whatever marriage was supposed to feel like, this wasn't it. In the quiet hours, Mireya stayed by the painted walls of her private hall. She arranged colors across blank coral. She sang tunes the court didn't recognize. She didn't recognize them either.
Why do these shapes feel familiar? Why do I know these songs?
She didn't have the answers, but the silence in her chest had started to change. The dreams came slowly. First a voice, then laughter, then a shape, a white shell glowing in a dark garden. She never saw a face, but the feeling never left her when she woke.
Don't forget me.
Who are you?
She never spoke of the dreams, but they stayed with her through the day, quiet but persistent. Mireya didn't tell Thorin, or the advisors, or the priests. She sketched the garden again and again in her scrollbook, pretending it was something decorative, but she knew what she was drawing, even if she couldn't say why.
I've never seen this place, but I know I've been there.
She began humming in private, unsure if the tune was hers or someone else's. Far from Serenthia, Soraya still returned to the Pearl Garden every night. She carved slowly now. Each shell held more weight. She no longer hoped to change anything, but she still believed the story mattered.
If she ever comes back, she'll need a way to remember.
She called the story The Drifted Bride, and she placed every new shell where Mireya used to sit, waiting for the day she might return. The quake struck at dawn, sudden, sharp, and deep. Serenthia's coral vaults cracked down the center. A dozen guards were injured. One noble drowned. Mireya was caught in the chamber when the wall split. She wasn't hurt badly, but the healers insisted on a full recovery, far from the capital. She was sent home.
Your rest will be taken at the Pearl Reef. The Queen has already arranged it.
The Pearl Reef?
She said nothing more. Her voice held no memory of the name. Mireya arrives back at the Pearl Kingdom. She swims through her old home without recognition. The reef hadn't changed. Not the colors, not the flow, not the carvings on the palace walls. But Mireya felt nothing. She passed the old coral gardens. She crossed the market path. She entered the west wing where she once slept. Nothing came back. I've been here before. I must have. But it feels like someone else's life. Everyone watched her return like it meant something. Soraya waited outside the garden path, watching the palace guards bring Mireya through the reef gate. She looked different now, older, colder, like someone trained to never show feeling. Their eyes met for a second.
Mireya.
Who is she?
She lives near the reef wall. Not important.
Mireya nodded once and kept swimming. Soraya didn't follow. She stood in silence, trying not to break apart. The palace reef was silent that night. No guards watched the lower chambers. Soraya knew the way. She swam to the edge of Mireya's rest chamber and slid one white shell beneath the curtain, the first one she ever carved. The one that said, "Spiral Shell Day." Then she left.
If anything's still inside her, maybe this will wake it.
It wasn't a plan, it was hope. And that was enough. Mireya noticed the shell near her rest basin. No one claimed it. She picked it up slowly. The surface was smooth, curved, familiar. The word "Spiral Shell Day" was carved on the underside. It meant nothing, but her chest felt tight when she read it. The Queen was already waiting in the main hall when Soraya returned from the lower reef. She didn't raise her voice.
You will not speak to her. You will not approach her again.
She doesn't even remember me.
That's exactly how it should stay.
Soraya said nothing, but in her hands, the next shell was already carved. Mireya had been painting again, quiet reefscapes no one understood. This time it was a spiral reef hidden behind a curtain of kelp. She didn't know where it came from. Later that tide, Soraya passed by the outer chamber on a scroll errand. She saw the painting. It was the old Kelp Maze.
You remember, even if they made you forget.
Mireya didn't look at her. She didn't even see her. But something from their past had made it onto that scroll, and that was enough. Soraya disguised herself as a reef scribe and entered the lower palace wing. No one questioned her. She left a single shell inside Mireya's chamber. It read, "Spiral stones and sunlight."
You remembered the place. Let's see if you remember the name.
She placed it quietly near the painted scroll and left before the next tide. During a palace gathering, Mireya sat in silence beside Thorin as speeches carried on. Without thought, she began humming. It was soft, tuneless to others, but it had once been Soraya's lullaby for the reef vines.
What is that melody?
I don't know. It keeps showing up in my head.
Then stop humming it.
I've tried.
She didn't say more, but the song stayed with her long after the gathering ended. The palace announced a night for ancient tales and reef history. Readers from across the kingdoms were invited. Soraya used a borrowed name and stepped forward, carrying her own scroll.
Our final reader brings a rare legend from the Southern Gardens.
This one is called The Drifted Bride.
Most of the court looked bored. They had heard hundreds of reef love tales before. But Mireya listened. Soraya read about two mermaid girls who met in a coral maze and carved their love into shells. One was promised to a prince, the other was left behind with nothing but memory.
They promised to stay, but the sea had its own plans. One was taken to a distant reef. The other waited in silence, sending her voice into the current, hoping it would reach her.
No one in the room understood the story, except one. By the time Soraya read the final line, Mireya hadn't moved. Her eyes were glassy. The one who drifted never truly left, and the one who waited never truly let go.
I've heard this before, but I haven't.
What did you say?
Nothing.
She didn't ask the reader's name, but a single tear had escaped, and this time she didn't wipe it away. The queen summoned Soraya to the upper hall, where guards never lingered. There were no pleasantries, no questions, only a quiet warning.
She's beginning to remember. You're the reason.
I've done nothing but remind her who she is.
She was calm before, she was obedient. Now she hums ghost songs and cries during public readings.
Maybe that means she's alive again.
The queen didn't respond right away. Her silence wasn't indecision, it was calculation. Soraya didn't ask for permission. She asked for honesty.
She deserves the truth, even if she forgets me again. You took that choice from her.
She's bound to Syrenthia. If the wrong memory returns, it could tear apart two kingdoms.
I don't care about kingdoms. I care about her.
That was the first time Soraya said it out loud. It didn't shake the queen, but it registered. After a long pause, the queen gave her answer.
You'll have one meeting, no scripts, no lies.
She must choose freely.
Then say what you came to say, but if she doesn't return to duty, she's no longer protected.
Soraya didn't ask for more time. She only nodded once and left to prepare the truth. That night, a final scroll was waiting at the edge of Mireya's chamber, unmarked on the outside, full of familiar carvings within. It told of two girls in a coral garden, one chosen, one forgotten. At the end of the scroll was a shell, the same reef symbol they had drawn on the first day they met.
This was real.
The wave of memory came without warning. The coral garden, the spiraled shells, the way Soraya's voice sounded when she said, "I'll find my way back." She remembered the kiss in the Kelp Maze, the one she'd painted without knowing why. She remembered the song she thought she made up. It wasn't a song, it was Soraya's. She didn't tell the court. She didn't wait for permission. She left the palace and swam through the reef tunnels without hesitation. Every turn was familiar now. Every shadow held something she'd once lost. She reached the coral garden before dawn.
Soraya, please be here.
The memories were hers again. Now she needed the girl who gave them back. The old reef wall stood untouched, hidden behind the spiral stones and years of silence. Soraya waited beneath the kelp arch, not knowing if she still belonged there. Then, from the far end of the reef, Mireya appeared.
I swam back.
You remembered.
Every part they tried to take.
There were no questions after that, only the truth that had survived. They stayed there, just the two of them, between reef stones and memory. The world beyond the garden didn't reach them.
I thought I lost you for good.
You didn't. You just had to wait.
They didn't talk about what came next. They weren't sure if there would be a next. The memory seal had been forced open too fast. The spell hadn't faded. It had fractured. Mireya felt it first, the dull pull, like something tugging from the inside out. She tried to stay present, but part of her was slipping.
It's pulling at me. I thought remembering would fix it.
It's not over. Not yet.
They had found each other again, but the sea still held a price. The reef platform hadn't changed, but Mireya had. The deeper her memories returned, the more her body felt unsteady, like part of her was slipping beneath the surface of herself. The memory seal had been too strong, held in place for too many years. When it cracked, it didn't just release memories. It tore the soul thread they were tied to.
My voice feels farther away than I am.
You're still here. You swam back.
It's not my mind that's fading. It's me.
There was no blood, no wound, just a slow dissolving, like her existence was being reversed, piece by piece. The spell's failure was exact. It couldn't kill her quickly. It fractured her soul in layers. It began with sensation, numbness in her memory path. Then her sense of place unraveled. She could see Soraya, but not feel the distance between them. Her name still made sense, but time stopped.
It's happening. I can feel the part of me that remembered you, pulling away.
You're strong enough. We broke the seal.
But it broke me too.
She knew it wasn't a sickness. It wasn't a punishment. It was the cost written into the spell itself. If memory returns, form shall fade. Soraya opened the scroll and read. Each word was a stone laid down, a record of everything they fought to hold. Mireya listened. Her breathing slowed. Her answers stopped. She wasn't unconscious. She was drifting. The magical thread that tied her to the sea, the court, and Soraya thinning into silence.
When we first swam, I didn't know your name, but I already knew you were mine.
And I was.
And then, without flash or sound, she was gone. Her body didn't collapse. It simply wasn't there anymore, as if the sea had reclaimed the last pieces gently, completely. Soraya kept reading, even after the reef was empty. She didn't cry out. There was nothing to scream at. She finished the story anyway, because it was the only thing left to do. When she looked down, a single shell rested on the platform. Their reef symbol glowed faintly on its surface.
You found your way back, and the sea took you before I could hold you long enough.
Soraya stayed long after the tides changed. No one came for her. She didn't leave. She just held the shell and whispered the story again, because memory could be erased, but stories could be carved into the ocean.
Thanks for watching, Diary Gang. That wasn't just a story, that was a memory. Tap subscribe to join the Diary Gang and keep riding with stories that hit different. Cheers.